Love you too.
Hey, Who Dat Nation and our Bayou Blitz family. Brendan Boylan here with Bob Rose. New Orleans Saints trailing at the half, 14-3. Bob, New Orleans finally gets something going offensively on that final drive. And unfortunate that Callaway was not able to complete the catch with Dalton. Looks like there's a little bit of fault on both sides. Dalton thought he was going to continue the route. And Callaway was just trying to hold up and show, hey, I'm wide open in the end zone. Unfortunate that it doesn't work out for the New Orleans Saints, but for fans that saw those first three drives, what are some positive takeaways you can take from that final drive of the first half for the Saints offense?
The Saints offense decided to come out of the locker room because they didn't for the first few drives. And I blame it. I blame it just as much on coaching as I do the offensive players. The reason is this team, Pete Carmichael, Dennis Allen, they're coaching scared. They're coaching like they're intimidated. And you could see it in their offensive play calling. You have Taysom Hill in the game, and what does that mean, New Orleans Saints fans? That means either a Taysom Hill power run or an RPO option where he pulls the ball back in and a quick pass over the middle. Instead, they run a misdirection to not Alvin Kamara, not an end around, but to your special teams captain, Dwayne Washington. Juwan Johnson on a simple 3rd and 3 runs a 1 yard out. Those kind of things are the faults of the players. The offensive line, they've not been real decisive at the point of attack. But the Saints have also, and again on coaching, the Saints have also not tried to run the ball right at the Ravens, with very few exceptions. Whatever offensive game plan they had coming in, Pete Carmichael better be torching it as we speak, and going back to the basics of what this has made this team a successful offense over the last 4 games.
Well, you saw some of the numbers there. Andy Dalton, 92 yards, 10 of 16 passing, no scores. Alvin Kamara, only 15 rushing yards. The New Orleans Saints leading receiver at this point, Chris Olave, 2 catches for 31 yards. I mean, let's face it, the Saints offense was, outside of that last drive, non-existent in the first half. Defensively, New Orleans maybe without Alontae Taylor, who left the game injured there late in the first half. And Bob, before you and I went live, I mean, we could talk about the Saints have gotten some pressure on Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson, being the super talented and special athlete that he is, has escaped multiple sacks and connected on some big plays. And even the one that he wasn't able to connect on escapes Cam Jordan twice and nearly hits Deshaun Jackson down the football field. That's not so much the fault of the Saints defense, but more highlighting the true talent of Lamar Jackson, right?
A true talent as an athlete, not a quarterback. And I'll die on that hill. He's made a couple of nice halfback option passes, and I'm dying on that hill. But he has done a wonderful job escaping the pressure. The Saints had him dead to rights at least 3 or 4 times, and just weren't able to make the plays. They are going to have to wrap up better. There's no question about that. The thing that concerns me about the Saints defense is that you could see it on their faces on that next to last Ravens drive. Even though they stopped them and forced a punt, this was a confident New Orleans Saints defense up to that point. And then the following drive, the Ravens took the ball on mostly Lamar Jackson's legs and escapability and drove the ball 81 yards for a touchdown. And that entire drive, the New Orleans defense just looked demoralized. These guys need to make a play. Whether it's a big turnover, a big 3rd down stop, a big hard sack, something like that to get the life back in this unit, because you could just see, Lamar Jackson's legs literally sucked the life and the enthusiasm out of the New Orleans Saints defense as the half progressed.
Ravens are 6 of 8 on 3rd down in the first half, and John Butler just said that the time of the possession is way too lopsided. To get just accurate numbers for you, time of possession 19.5 minutes to 10.5 minutes in favor of the Ravens. Their 2 scoring drives were both over 7 minutes apiece. I mean, we knew that was going to be a key to the game. Whoever ran the ball better, whoever possessed the ball longer was going to come out on top, because these offenses are built, at least at this point for the Saints especially, to do that. And the Saints have not been able to do that. Mary says the Saints need to get Taysom Hill more involved. I'm right there with you, especially in a game like this. The first things first, though, Bob, the Ravens get the ball to start the second half. New Orleans is going to have to come out with some enthusiasm, something. You mentioned a turnover, you mentioned a sack. I mean, at this point, you're willing to take a punt, right, and get the ball in the hands of your offense. And the offense, despite only coming away with 3, some positives to build on, especially with a depleted receiving corps.
Yeah, there is some positives for the Saints offense, and that is, Chris Olave is starting to get open a little bit. Alvin Kamara has made some nice plays. He just hasn't touched the ball enough. And I agree with you, Mary. I think that the New Orleans definitely needs to get Taysom Hill more involved in some way, shape, or form. I'll credit the Ravens offense, for doing in the first half what they're true to doing. They have stayed. They have done everything that's made them a successful offense, and done it well. New Orleans, on the other hand, like I said at the onset of the halftime show, New Orleans is coaching scared offensively. They have tried to fool the Ravens, at misdirections and just cutesy stuff, but nothing even resembling the successful offense that we've seen over the last 4 or 5 games. But to start that second half, Brendan, like you said, the Saints at the very least need a 3 and out. Or a quick stop of the Ravens to get the ball back. And hopefully Pete Carmichael and Andy Dalton saw some things offensively at the end of that first half, that they could build on that momentum from that final drive.
No need to be over dramatic and call for Jameis Winston at this point, is there?
No, I wouldn't think so. Andy is not playing well, but he's not playing poorly enough to be benched. Like I said, it's the play calling, needs to change. They need to come at the Ravens a little bit more aggressively.
You know that I have to throw that question out there, especially with the torn fan base on what's going on with the New Orleans Saints at quarterback. Bob, real quick, do you want to change your score predictions, or at least after seeing a half of football, how do the New Orleans Saints turn it around and come away with a victory at home?
Well, like I said, they have to come out of the third quarter very strong. They'll be on defense to start the third. They absolutely need to get a stop and no more Ravens points on the board in that first drive. A 3 and out would be extremely helpful, where the Saints then turn around and capitalize. Even if you just get another field, if you keep the Ravens off the board and get a field goal on your first offensive possession, boom, you're right back in this game, because at that point, it's a 1-possession game, if you consider a 2-point conversion. Even something as subtle as that, could turn this entire game around. Defensively, the Saints definitely need to get back to what they were doing, through the first quarter and a half. Outside of one Ravens drive, they were really containing what the Baltimore offense was doing. And like I said, New Orleans offensively, they just need to be more aggressive, and get their best 3 playmakers, Olave, Kamara, and Taysom, a lot more involved.
I'll say this defensively as well, and we brought it up already, is that the Saints, when Lamar has dropped back to pass, the Saints have done a decent job getting pressure in his face, and we've seen the results of that with some balls getting lofted up in the air. Mm-hmm. At that point, you never know. You have to become an opportunistic defense at that point, and I still think it's within the Saints to come out and do something like that. This is a team that's built, at least on the defensive backfield portion of this team, built to be opportunistic. We've seen some miscommunication between Marcus May, Tyrann Mathieu, and some of the other DBs that needs to be cleaned up. But I do think they're going to have some opportunities to come away with an interception or some sort of takeaway in the second half. Well, Bob, you and I are going to have some really great guests lined up the next couple weeks for the Bayou Blitz. So we encourage you guys, if you don't already, follow us on Twitter, Bayou Blitz Pod. And stay tuned for some really exciting announcements. Bob, where can everybody follow you on the World Wide Web?
Folks, like Brendan said, tune into the Bayou Blitz podcast. That's this Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 Central. In the meantime, follow me on Facebook, Bob Rose, over on Twitter at BobbyR2613, and obviously all of our works through the Saints News Network and at Saints News on Twitter.
For myself, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram at BT Boylan. We have some fun stuff coming up with the Bayou Blitz. We thank you guys for all of your continued support. Until Wednesday, find peace, spread love, practice positivity, and we'll see you back for the Bayou Blitz podcast Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern.